Hey, welcome to the weekly wrap up. Now we are live getting started in crypto on X, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, if I remember to press live, and probably somewhere else, YouTube. And that's probably about it. Hang on, let me just go and press live on Instagram, or else they don't have any live there. Now they do. Yeah, so just me doing this again today. Let's jump into some of these charts. Now, this is really ugly out there. Now, crypto is held up a lot better than traditional markets, surprisingly. So if you kind of look at where we are, alts have been bleeding for months. Bitcoin is reasonable for what's happening in the traditionals, and Ethereum disgusting, and alts just So let's jump in. I put on X yesterday that I was going to have a look at some alts. I'm going to give you some key levels on some of those. I've put into my random picker and have a few alts that have come up. So they're not anyone. I didn't just go, yep, I'm going to do this. Yep, I'm going to do that. I put it into a random picker and I've picked some alts. So let's jump right into BTC. So we can assume that if we're coming back down to this point, I'm just going to put my glasses on so I can see the numbers. Now, BTC, if this is one wave here, and we're still waiting on a fifth wave up here somewhere, then this must hold 74. So, 67, sorry, where we've just passed that next pivot at 74. So I'm going to remove that. We want to hold that sort of 618 area. That is going to be our next level on BTC. Failing that, that then puts us in a deeper correction, and potentially we can come back down to either the 100. This is a weekly chart. So weekly charts usually get a fair indication of levels. So we want to go up higher to see sort of where we are in these patterns, and to see how low we are going, and what the actual levels are of support. So if we want to get to some confluence regions, we've put 2 fibs on and see where these match up. So we're going to get some confluence between 73 to around that 67 mark. So that's going to be a strong support. We can see that in this region, we've got the all-time high from 21. And we've also got the previous wave 3 in this pattern. So coming back down to this region is going to be a critical level. Breaking down past that, we're going back down probably to the 100 MA on the weekly. So that's the 786. BTC loves the 786. So when we go back through pattern memory, that is kind of where we're sitting. So we're kind of just looking now for entry levels that we can sort of start coming back into. We've surpassed all those sort of regions where we're going, okay, this is still like really, really bullish. It's potentially sort of wavering. The S&P's gone into a bearish. Once it gets past a certain sort of pullback level, it's classed as being in a bear market. So that's happened. Bitcoin hasn't done that yet. So we're still in this 4-year cycle. We're still in the structure that we need for the super cycle. It's just not going as fast as we anticipated. Corrections never go fast. So they're often sort of take their own journey, take their own path, and this is what's happening. So when we look at Bitcoin and we have a look at what's going on with the tariffs, it's held up pretty well compared to a lot of the majors. So when we're looking at, charts like gold, which I'll probably pull up, I didn't open that one up. So let's just jump into that, because this is going off at the moment, because this is where old money goes. When we've got the threat of sort of, do I stick it in cash? Do I sort of, leave it sort of sitting there? Then we go, okay, if I'm old money, I'm going to be sitting in something like gold. So we can see that we've got a channel, and we've got a couple of points on this channel on gold, so which is quite moving really nicely, actually. So we've come back down and corrected. So I would anticipate that gold is about to take off again. I don't think this money is rolling into Bitcoin yet. Although it does look like Bitcoin's holding up. So that could be something that speculators will put their money back into. So we can see that we've come back down on the RSI support. So this has still got life left in it. So there's still going to be some downturn in the market. There's still going to be some money rolling into gold. So that is something to be really aware of, because we've just hit a support level. So over the next sort of week, as the money pulls out of the traditionals, they're going to be coming into some more sort of stable things. So that might help Bitcoin's case with what's happening with the tariffs. Now, as we get sort of critical negotiations starting to happen, like we're seeing with Vietnam, because they've got key levels or key sort of interest in the car market coming into the USA. So they're really trying to renegotiate those tariffs. So that's going to be something that really happens over the next sort of month, where we see countries coming in and going, okay, come on, Trump, we're going to negotiate. We don't want to be paying this. We're going to take our tariff off if you take your tariff off, and let's see what the deal is. Because what the USA is trying to do, which could go either way for them, is increase their own sort of trade and their own sort of manufacturing. A lot of countries are losing their manufacturing to the smaller countries like Romania, like Vietnam, like Russia, that are making a lot of cars at the moment. So when we don't have that sort of manufacturing happening in these major countries, that's when they're buying too much from outside. So that's where these tariffs are really important. So what Trump is doing is saying that Vietnamese cars are now more expensive, and Vietnamese products and whatever. If Americans want to buy those, it's probably better for them to buy a car that's made in America. It's going to be a similar price. So that then pushes everyone to, say that electronic car market to maybe Tesla, that's made in America. So that's kind of what we're looking at with those tariffs. So, and it's to increase manufacturing, to increase steel manufacturing in the USA. USA does have a lot of petroleum that they farm and they make. So a lot of that, they've got 50 years of storage. So if there was to be a major world war, USA is sitting on about 50 years of oil and petroleum in their stores. So they're sitting pretty at the moment. So if this goes into some sort of global downturn, we're looking at BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and those countries that have come together, and looking at that sort of being the tariff that we really need to renegotiate. So how does that work when China own a lot of the bonds and they keep buying up the government bonds? So basically China owns a lot of America, so they could margin call. So that's where we're looking at BTC, and we're sort of looking at El Salvador, and where IMF is putting holds on countries sort of like coming into BTC, buying BTC, using it as their native currency, because they can't control that. So if that comes in, then that's another reason that we've had those halts put on with what Trump can do with the BTC reserve and the crypto reserve that they wanted to have. So there's a lot of levels here that we're looking at, sort of financial stuff, what's going on, and why this is kind of all very, very layered and very, very political as to what is going on at the moment. So what really needs to happen is some renegotiations. We start seeing a lot of tariff renegotiations. The market's going to start turning, and that's what we want to start looking at. So with that being said, I'm going to have a look at some levels. And before we get to that, I'm going to jump back to, let me find it, my FEMX page. Where's my... I should have had this ready. Sorry, guys. Now, if you are wanting to get free signals at Getting Started in Crypto, we have a deal with FEMX where you can jump in and sign up with FEMX. I'm going to bring up this chart for you, this thing. So you can trade smarter, profit faster, free scalp signals. So how this works is basically you get started. So you fill out this, and we've got a 3-step. So you create your FEMX using our referral link, which is right here. Deposit $1,000, and then go to step 3, and that emails us the form. So that's essentially what happens. And then once you've done that, you deposit your $1,000, you get free signals for the month. And as long as you're doing 4 trades a month, those will continue to be free. And you can earn up to $4,800 in deposit bonuses and welcome rewards from FEMX. So make sure you jump on that. It's, when the market's going absolutely crazy, sideways and down, we are killing it with those scalp trades. So make sure you check that out, because it saves you money. You're trading anyway, they're free signals. So yeah, let's get going. So let's jump in and have a look. So before I go, this is a BLX, and we're sitting at this level at the moment. So BLX doesn't update because it's not a 24-hour market. So when this comes in tomorrow, it's probably going to be sitting on this support. So really, BTC needs to hold these levels here, because that is exactly where we are on this support on the BLX. So failing that, breaking down the next diagonal support, sitting at about that 67, 68 mark that I was talking about on that previous chart. Ethereum has broken the pivot, so it is just looking completely ugly. It is likely going, next stop is about 1200. G6 Signals, that is one of the signals people in Getting Started in Crypto, he is saying that he thinks that this is a W, an X, and a Y wave. So if that's the case, it's breaking the low. So it's probably going to about $800 if that's a Y wave. Now, if it's coming back, it could do a double bottom, which is about $900. So there's going to be some really, really cheap Ethereum happening. I'm not sure if anyone wants to buy it anymore. It's probably one of the least performing charts over this period. So Bitcoin dominance has just reached the resistance. So this could break through. Now, it has done once before. We're kind of looking at that level where we're, like I was talking about before, where, money might come into the store of value, which is like gold, silver, platinum, and hopefully BTC as that sort of, that store, and, the digital gold narrative. That has held up fairly well. So dominance is increasing again, especially when alts start bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. Dominance will go up. The other positive sign is the total 2 is almost coming back down to a support level. So when we look at this, we've probably got one more wave down. We might get a bounce, a slight bounce, and then come back down, and that's kind of where we're looking. So if we're sort of hitting about that 2.18, 2.2 trillion, mark, and that's kind of where we're looking. So when we put some fib levels on that, 2.13 is our 786, which kind of lines up with this region. So we've probably got a bounce soonish, and then that's going to wipe out all your profits if you don't take them, and another sort of dip down. This month is going to be pivotal for the markets as a whole to not go into a recession. So basically we need those tariff deals sort of ironed out. We need that sort of really stringently sort of looked at, and then the markets should see some sort of buoyancy and some bounces. So I'll go into the charts that we've had requested and look at these high time frame charts just so we can get some strategic levels as to where we're looking. So XRP, if we take this as just being the total wave 3, so we need to look at the structure, we need to look at where it is in the pattern, and kind of see where we're going with this. So this is a weekly chart. A lot of these charts are going to be a weekly chart because we can see kind of the higher time frames. XRP is one that is quite interesting because the 9 and 21 EMA have not crossed down. A lot of the alts, that has happened about a month ago, and they're just looking completely ugly, and they were tending to get a slight bounce, but that kind of got that reversal. We've had a turn down on the stock RSI for XRP, which means it's probably still going down to this golden zone, which is about 144 at the low. So that is likely where the bounce is going to occur. I don't think that's the end of the blood, though. It could turn around there. The strategic pivot region is sitting at 95 on XRP, but the 786 is sitting at about 1. So we're probably looking overall at going to that region if we don't get a strong bounce in the next week or two. But do be aware that 1.44 is kind of where that bounce is going to happen. And whether that's sustainable or not will depend on what goes on globally. So this is not like something that we can just go, okay, this is the end, because these tariffs are they're literally taking out the entire market. Crypto as a whole has held up, though, which is surprisingly good. So another one is Solana, which has a very interesting sort of wedge that has formed, and right now is on the 200 MA. So that's sitting at 99. So when we were going up, nobody truly believed that we were coming back down for 99 on Solana. So ideally, that's the levels that Solana wants to continue to hold. It has broken a fib, which means potentially it's coming back down lower unless this can really sort of turn around and get some long wicks on it. It doesn't look likely, though. So while we might get a bounce, I'd say that's probably going to get stuck on that 100 MA, which is sitting at 121, and then come back down to that 786. So potentially we're looking at $70 Solana that we're going to be picking up here. So, and if the markets start to turn around, we don't go into a global recession, then this is going to be some really good gains, especially like if we're going into a super cycle still, which hasn't broken down on BTC. So this is still potentially the next wave of the BTC super cycle. So, we're still looking strong on that. So it hasn't broken key levels as yet. So, keep an eye out on if you're getting started in crypto, you get daily BTC updates. And if something major happens, I always put it on Twitter. So, or X, sorry. Yeah, so just to be aware that BTC hasn't broken down key levels. It's actually holding really, really well. So next one up was XNO, or previously known as Nano. Now this one just needs to hold the low. For this pattern to be valid, so this could potentially be a leading diagonal, which is a really specific pattern. It has followed that to a T. It just needs to hold 545 and it is good to go long term. Breaking down kind of that range, then we'll be like, okay, then we're looking at the next low, which is sitting at about 33. So XNO needs to hold at least that 545. Algo is sitting on a pivot, a very important pivot. So if this breaks down, this is potentially breaking or retesting the low. So the low is 0937, and it's had strong, really bullish divergence on this chart, on this weekly, since the beginning, and it just keeps going up, down, up, down, up, down. But yeah, so 937 is where we essentially want to hold. We're on a pivot right at the moment. So we want to see a bounce on algo here, which is likely that could happen. DGB, again, it's potentially has a leading diagonal, has finished that formation and needs to hold 00515. SWI, depending on what pattern we're looking at, will probably come down to about 1.51. If we're looking at a larger correction, 1.22. And Strax is one that was selected in the random because not one that I would touch. It's still breaking down. It has broken the low and not looking great. And the MAs on the daily have crossed as well. So if we go up to the weekly, it's still looking quite bearish in these regions. It's still got sell pressure on the MACD and not looking kind of bullish at all there at the moment. So you want to see these kind of turning up, still got room to move down on the RSI. So yeah, all in all, sort of we're looking probably at a bounce coming in maybe later this week, depending on how tariff negotiations go in the US with sort of one of the key countries at the moment is Vietnam. And yeah, that's kind of what's happening at the moment. It's not great out there. We are getting to very, very, very oversold levels on many of the alts, and they're looking completely like they need some life put into them. Watch whale alerts for those tether prints, because if we get those tether prints, we're going to get a bounce across the board. So that's kind of what's happening at the moment. It's not pretty out there, and I hope you guys are protecting your capital, because if you have no capital left, you can't trade, and that's the major thing here that we need to be protecting, and just being patient and waiting for these moments to come in. And don't forget to hit that link and join FEMX. So yeah, that's probably about all today. Sorry, it's not better news. Sorry, it's not like, well, this is all awesome and it's going to turn around. We've got to have a little bit of patience. So yeah, cool. I will see you again next week. I'll see you on X daily, and I'll see you in Getting Started in Crypto. And of course, if you're in Getting Started in Crypto, you guys can request charts if you need them as well. So yeah, thanks for watching. Catch you soon.